Okay, well, good morning. My healing testimony takes us way back to the summer of 1988. Yes. I was working at Western in the Department of Economics, and a group of grad students and professors were trying to get an economic department baseball team put together to join a group of other teams to have fun, non-competitive games throughout the summer. So they asked me if I would be a part of the team. I told them that I was not very good at baseball, but they were desperate for female players, and they assured me that the games were solely a fun time and it would not be competitive. So I agreed. Then there was a decision of what position would I play. I couldn't throw very far, so being an outfielder was out of the question. I was thinking that maybe the shortstop position would have been the best spot for me. But the team decided that since it was slow pitch and since it was non-competitive, the best place for me would be the back catcher. Oh, the summer was going along very well, and I was actually enjoying the games until the day we played the psychology department, and the non-competitive atmosphere vanished, and the battle of the social sciences began. A fairly big guy came up to bat, and he hit it far. And I could tell by how fast he was running and how his teammates were cheering him on that he was intent on making this a home run. So I thought this was my big moment. I knew that the ball was going to be coming to me, so I stood on home plate, mistake, and focused my attention solely on the ball. I heard him coming, but I had no idea what was coming next. I didn't end up catching the ball. Instead, I was hit hard from the side and sent flying through the air. I hit the backstop, which was a few feet behind me, and then slid down the backstop and landed on my bottom. That moment began a life with a very bad lower back. I could no longer sit, stand, or walk for long periods of time without pain, and I needed relief. So I decided to go to a chiropractor, and he showed me what was wrong. He had me sit with my legs straight out in front of me and showed me, with my legs straight, that now my legs were not aligned. One leg now looked quite a bit shorter than the other leg because my hips were now crooked from the damage done to my lower back. So I would go to him about 2 or 3 times a week to get an adjustment. When I left his office, I would feel relief, but the feeling would not last long. It was encouraging to me that he could give me the relief, but having to get an adjustment so frequently just wasn't the best solution. So now I will fast forward through 4 painful years to August of 1992. There was a guest speaker coming to the church we attended who had the gift of healing, and Derek and I decided to go to the meeting. The guest speaker spoke, and then he told us to get into groups of 3 or 4 and to pray for each other. I explained to the people in my group what had happened to my lower back and hip area, and then showed them how my legs weren't aligned and appeared to be considerably different in length. And with me sitting on the pew with my legs straight out in front of me, people in the group started praying for me. I had my eyes closed as people were praying, and then I had the thought come to mind, and it was one of the points that the guest speaker had said earlier. He said, "I encourage you to keep your eyes open as you pray so you can see what God is doing." After having that thought, I immediately opened my eyes, and at that moment, I can't describe the feeling I had. It wasn't like a tingling or a burning sensation or anything like that. I just knew that something was going on in my lower back hip area. But it was what I saw that totally amazed me. And I'm so thankful that God reminded me to open my eyes so that I could see the healing literally happen before me. I saw my leg that looked shorter become aligned with the other leg right there on the pew, and that night changed my life. The days of living with a painful back and expensive, time-consuming visits to the chiropractor were gone. And for days after, I must admit, I couldn't believe it had really happened. And multiple times in a day, even though I had no pain, I would just sit down and see if my legs were still aligned. And they were, and they still are today. And it wasn't until a few days later when we went with some friends to Cedar Point and I spent the whole day at the park pain-free that it really became solidified in my mind that God had truly healed me. I could never have walked all day at Cedar Point the 4 previous years. I could barely do an hour walking in a mall without pain. So I knew without a doubt that day, and I was so thankful, and I rejoiced today that God healed me.